Wait,
Well, wait a second. Yeah, actually, if you hit share now, hey, look at that, we're live.
we're live.
This is the we were just talking about the excitement of going live. Welcome everybody to the Turbonomic Park My Cloud Turbo Tuesdays. This is very cool. I'm extremely proud because we've had a ton of great reactions from everybody who's in our Turbo community. And this is a rare sort of rejoining. We're putting the band back together. My name is Eric Wright. If you don't already know me and my unfortunate voice that you may hear a lot of if you watch Turbo videos, you can, of course, connect to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm at Disco Posse. It's easy to find me. And I'm sharing the camera and the screen today and unloading all of the hard work on my good friend Chris Parlett. Chris, if you want to let us know where folks can find you online, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do today.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Chris Parlett. I'm on most social media as C Parlett. So the tricky part is spelling my last name, so CPARLETTE. But I'm on Twitter, where I just post dumb stuff. I'm on Instagram, where you can watch videos of me doing weightlifting in my basement. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere. It's basically C Parlett. Which there's a funny story. There's actually another Chris Parlett who gets really mad that I always get all the C Parletts before he does on all the social media platforms. So he, so if you find another Chris Parlett, that I'm C Parlett. So
nice. And this is really neat because we've rarely gotten a chance to get us back together. For folks that have been able to see us at events in the past, the last couple of major industry events, I would say it was probably, I think it might have been VMworld or Ignite and reInvent. It's hard to keep track of. It was literally, it's so 2019. It was pre-COVID. When we did a lot of in-person stuff, I was lucky enough to share the booth space with Chris, and we've been part of the same global team now for quite a while, and not just being able to talk about really cool technology and dig in on fun stuff, but you're just you're somebody I love to spend time with. It's also one of the fastest speed cuber I know. We won't unveil that. I won't make him do that live on this session.
I do. I have a couple cubes next to me. I always have a few on my desk, so I'm ready to go.
Always have them ready to go. But we're going to talk today. This is Turbo Tuesday. So Turbonomic Labs, every Tuesday we share specific stuff that's really in the Turbonomic ecosystem. We've been very proud, of course, to have Park My Cloud become a part now for over a year to the Turbonomic family. And it's been a beautiful pairing. We've really loved it. We've had a chance to, both kind of explore where their Turbonomic as a core platform can kind of advance some of the other use cases that existing Park My Cloud customers have had. And even more fun is that we've introduced Park My Cloud into a ton of Turbonomic platform customers. So if you're using Turbonomic today and you're not using Park My Cloud, you're going to get a taste of what we can do together. But really, Park My Cloud is a beautiful standalone thing. And in fact, Chris, I'm going to get you to do me a favor. I'm going to share my screen for a second here. Oh, sorry. We've got two Chris's. This is going to be really confusing. I got Chris Graham, who's DJ Turbo, is in the back, and he's going to help us to get this whole DJ process going here. But I wanted to lead us in. Every time when I've done a booth presentation, we've talked about, I do a lot of the in-booth presentations, so they're like 5 minutes long or 6-7 minutes long. They're very quick. And I kind of joke, but, it's not really a joke. I say it in truth that you can literally, in the time that you watch me do this presentation, you could have signed up for Park My Cloud. So I wanted to take on a personal challenge that I can show that you can literally do that in the time that I could have given that goofball 5-minute presentation in a booth. So literally right before we got started, I took a brand new email, and this is me. Literally, I nothing up my sleeve, right? There's no magic involved. I signed up for Park My Cloud. I have a screenshot with my time that shows that it was at 10:50 when I got started. So I got my email. I got my activation. So I turned on my activation. I followed the Park My Cloud instructions on how to set up an IAM resource, so in identity and access management inside AWS. I chose AWS as my first target. So I followed the instructions, literally cut, paste, very simple. You create a role, you take that role and you attach it you allow access to Park My Cloud. So I did that, created my policy, created my role, connected that bad boy up, and hit go. And that was it. Literally in the process of 10 minutes before we started live to right now, I have now effectively got a managed AWS platform with Park My Cloud. So there you go. That is like, I shouldn't be as wowed as I am, but it's like amazing every time I do it that we're going to show you just, it's that easy to connect. It's free to start. Look, I don't want to step on it. Anyways, you can, so Chris G, DJ Turbo, you can unshare my screen. Let's switch over and Chris Parlett, I'll let you drive from now. So take us away, because first of all, I didn't really explain why Park My Cloud is important. But I just wanted to literally show that it is that easy, that while you're watching right now, anybody's watching right now, if you go to parkmycloud.com, you can literally sign up and get started. And you'll see just how easy it is. And of course, for folks that are watching live, we can take live comments as well. So thanks for the folks that are reaching out directly here. Of course, we can see we're syndicated all over the place. We've got Turbonomic YouTube, we've got Park My Cloud Periscope, we've got LinkedIn Live. We're all over the place. So with that, I'll take myself out of the game here, and Chris, let's show them how it's done.
Sure, sounds good. So again, I'm Chris Parlett. So I work for Park My Cloud. So we're a SaaS application, and our main goal is saving money on cloud costs. So that's just, that's what we do. And the main way we do that is by turning stuff off when you don't need it. So it's the old, if you've ever seen the IT Crowd where Roy answers the phone and says, "Hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and back on again?" Which is funny, mostly because it's true. But you can also kind of extend that. And so what we found is, so to kind of go through some history real quick, a brief history of time. So, you're on the on-prem world, you're in VMware, OpenStack, whatever it might be. You're a developer, you spin up a couple servers, test some things out. Basically, you just spin up a giant server, it doesn't really matter. You leave it running over the weekend, who cares? Like, you're not really costing you any more money. As long as you have the resources on the underlying hardware, then you're fine, right? So it doesn't really matter. I mean, we used to have a VMware lab local in our office. I'd just spin up a couple servers. 3 months later, I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot I even did that. I'll kill it. It doesn't matter, whatever. But now in the world of cloud, which has been the last 10 years or so, you spin up a server. Well, raise your hand if you've done this. You spin up a server on a Friday afternoon because you're trying to play around with something. You forget about it because you log out for the day. You go have a fun weekend, whatever. 3 months later, actually maybe a month later, on the 5th of the month, you get that bill from Amazon, and you're like, "What is this charge? I don't remember doing this. Where is that server?" And then it's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I've been paying by the hour or by the minute or by the second for the server that I'm not even using." Right? So I do that literally all the time. And then the other fun part is you spin things up. You pick a different region. So it's like, oh, I got some stuff in US East 1. I'm going to try US West 2 so I can kind of split things out a little bit. Now I just forgot it's even there because I never log into US West 2. So now I got stuff all over the place. I got a Google Cloud free account, but it's not really free because I spun up things way higher than that. So cloud costs everywhere. And that's just my personal stuff, let alone my work environment. I try some things out at work. I spin some things up, development servers, whatever. I'm doing my job. Like, I actually need these servers. But then you go home for the day and it's running 24/7. And again, you're paying for every hour that you're not using it. So, the cloud has some awesome features, but paying for things when you use it can be good until you leave it up all the time. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve here at Park My Cloud is we can help turn things off when you don't need them. So like dev, test, QA, staging, pre-production, basically anything that, doesn't need to be on all the time. We can help turn it off on a schedule. We can help you manage those kind of things, have users log in, get just access to their resources, all that kind of stuff. So that's really the root of what we're trying to get through. So let me kind of show you some of the features we have, because as some people watching this might say, turning stuff off, that's easy, right? I just click on the off button. Yeah, but remembering to do it, actually scheduling it out, having single sign-on, having a notification in Slack saying, hey, your server's going to turn off in 30 minutes, stuff like that. Those are the kind of things you don't really think about if you try to write your own script to do it. So we can kind of help with that. And we have a full API, which means you can write your own scripts. So let's get into the actual product. I've talked long enough. So let's kind of show you what the product can do. You've already kind of highlighted how easy it is to set up, right? So the cool thing is we do work with AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and actually Alibaba Cloud. So we actually work with 4 different cloud providers. All 3 people who use Oracle Cloud are yelling at us right now for saying we don't support Oracle or IBM or whatever it might be.
Shout out to the happy few, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you yell at us long enough, eventually we'll support it. So what we do, we have what's called cloud credentials. So as Eric mentioned, basically you sign up for a trial on the website. You go to parkmycloud.com, sign up for a free trial. You get access to all the features for 2 weeks for free. And then after that, we actually do have a free tier, but we'll talk more about kind of the features of that. But there actually is a free forever tier, which is what I use for my personal AWS account. I just have it running. I'm using it. I schedule stuff to turn off on nights and weekends, and I'm good to go. So basically, you sign up for a trial, and then you got to plug in the credentials. So Eric kind of showed you the AWS, setting up an IAM role and getting permissions through IAM policy. It's a very similar process for Azure and Google as well. It's just everyone kind of has their own naming for things, which is always fun trying to remember the names of things as you're working through them. So I'll kind of show you, there's a wizard here. It kind of steps you through it. Eric kind of mentioned AWS. And so here's the IAM role. Here's the policy of what we need, the actual permissions that we need. And it looks daunting, but what we try to do is we try to be very exact about what we need. So instead of saying, hey, just give us a blanket policy that gives us a million things, that's not really good IAM practices. So we try to be very specific about the exact commands that we need to run. So as we go through here, it looks like a lot. Really, all this is saying is we have access to read a list of the resources. We can start them and we can stop them and we can resize them. So that's pretty much it, right? So it looks like a whole lot, but that's all we need to do. And so we work with EC2, so that's VMs. So that's kind of straightforward. Auto-scaling groups, so we can actually scale groups of servers down to 0 and then back up on a schedule, which is nice. We can do RDS databases, which are super expensive. I don't know if you've ever spun up.
I found out I had an $800 oopsie doodle surprise bill one time when I accidentally spun up a multi availability zone RDS instance, not realizing I'd also turned on backups. And so that thing was spinning up my cloud bill mighty nicely. So big shout out to my amazing wife, eMiss33, for letting me survive that credit card statement.
It's funny. Anyone who's been in cloud long enough has that surprise bill, that story of like, I thought I was doing fine. And then all of a sudden you get that bill and you go, woo, hey.
Well, you realize that you sign up for it, not realizing it. Hey, I'm going to do load testing on my app. Yeah, IO costs money, right? Like little things like that, but definitely. And even just to kind of hammer home the importance of what you just showed here with the policy for folks that are, as they should be, security minded and security focused, like using least privilege credentials. This is not a ton of care and feeding. You don't have to dig backwards and say, what resources can I do? You can literally go through this AWS policy and you'll see that we're using least privilege credentials to make sure that you're not, given the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. And I've had a ton of people in the industry who are security focused, the kind of people that have tape over their webcam when they're not using it. And they've gone through this and said, whew, okay, good. Like you guys have already thought about this before I have to sit there and ask the question, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And so, yeah, we definitely we keep that in mind. The good thing is, too, we can't access the actual OS of the server, which a lot of people ask about, too. They say, I have, data on my server that I don't want you accessing from a SaaS application. And we can't get access even if we wanted to. So really, we're accessing the AWS APIs and the Azure APIs and the Google APIs. So we're not actually accessing your data, which is a good thing. So that really helps from that perspective. Cool. So EC2 RDS, auto-scaling groups. The other thing I want to mention is we actually can work with Kubernetes clusters as well. That's a relatively new feature. So for Kubernetes clusters in the cloud, you're paying for the underlying nodes. So the servers and the auto-scaling groups that you spin up in order to run those containers. So we can actually, again, turn those off on a schedule and then turn them back on, which you may not want to do for production. That's generally why we say non-production. Production is up 24/7. But for non-production, hey, you can spin those down on the weekend and save some money. So So those are the kind of services we work with. Real quick, I'll show you Azure because that's the kind of the second big one that we have. Again, it's a very similar process. It's you create a service account inside of Azure. We have full instructions on how to do that, and then we have a custom role here. So again, this is being able to read virtual machines, being able to read the scale sets, read the AKS clusters, and then be able to stop and start them. So that's really the extent of it. So you can always take these permissions and just copy and paste them, or you can kind of go through line by line and make sure that's what you want to do. So once you create that role in AWS and Azure and Google, what we do is we read in the resources. We discover them every 5 minutes in AWS and Google, every 10 minutes in Azure, and that comes in here on this resources page. So you see a whole list of servers in here. I have AWS, I have Azure. One of the nice things that is kind of a feature that we kind of gloss over because we were so used to it, but this idea of being able to see across all different regions in one view and multiple different accounts in one view is actually very nice because, as I mentioned, I've lost servers, and we've actually had people sign up for a trial, and they attach the trial, and they say, I don't have 400 servers, so I have 200. And I say, well, you got 200 in this region, and you have 200 in this other region. And they say, oh, I thought we got rid of those. I didn't realize we still had those. And so we actually are finding lost servers for people, and so they spin it up and they see it. But again, in the AWS console, if you've ever tried to view different regions and you lose things all the time if you accidentally spun it up in a different region or whatever. So anyway, having everything in one view here is actually really nice. And being able to see across multiple AWS accounts, if you have that in your corporate environment, multiple Azure subscriptions, we can have a list of all of those here. So this is really nice for getting a list of all of those servers. We have let me find a good example here. So we can, you can click into any of these servers and see details. So where is a good one? Here we go. So this one has, you can see IP addresses, tags, resource groups in Azure, which is a big thing for sorting things. We can also show you the volumes and the snapshots attached to this. So you can actually see which volumes are attached to a server, what snapshot history you have on the server. So you can kind of just pull this information in from AWS, pull it in from Azure, and you got all your stuff in here. But what you guys really came here to see is actually doing stuff, right? So we're not just a visualization tool. We are an action tool. We actually take the action of saving you money. So you can see I have a bunch of servers that are off here. Any of these servers, if I need them, I can toggle them off or on from here. And so this will actually reach out to Azure, reach out to AWS, turn things on or off, which is really nice, just really quick and easy to turn things on. And then I can start scheduling things. So if I want to take this server, I can click on this calendar icon. I can choose my existing schedules, or I can make a new one. And here's where I can basically say what time zone am I in and what hours do I want the server to be off or on. So again, the typical use case is going to be turning off on nights and weekends because that'll save you 65%. That's outside of your business hours. That's a huge amount of savings just to turn off things when you don't need them, but you could still have it up and running during the week. But if you're working with some people, and, everyone's at home, maybe we're working around the world, I can have multiple time zones supported here, just make it a little wider. I can build in maintenance windows if I want to have patches or backups or snapshots, I can do that. I can, if I'm working on personal stuff, maybe I have this off during the day and I turn it on in the evening because that's when I'm working on stuff, so maybe that'll save me 80% just by doing that. So I can do that as well. So we have a lot of flexibility here, and it makes it really easy to just kind of make some schedules, pick the boxes. When it's a green box, we turn it on. When it's a red box, we turn it off, and we'll take that action for you, and you just tell us when to do it. So this is really a great way of just setting up these schedules.
Or you can show the startup employee schedule, which is almost all green.
Yeah, if that's plus actually maybe a little.
I don't know what your Saturdays look like, my friend, but
working late into the night. Hey, actually, and really, it's more then you pass out, and then that's when you kind of wake up around noon. Yeah, that's.
Well, and the neat thing too, this is the manual piece, and for folks that. This is not the only secret sauce to it, because like you said, Chris, if we just wanted to do this, if I'm a crafty gentleman, I may be able to come up with a nifty script that I could create some crazy Excel document, whatever, like just out of my own personal science project need to do nerdy stuff. I may try that, but that's fine if you know exactly what you're doing. on exactly the same resources at exactly the same time every single week. Right? And guess what? That's actually not ever possible, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing I do, I work with a lot is, okay, so let's say your schedule, let's take an example schedule here. Let's say you were going to do something like this. And so, this is for your office. You want to turn it on at 8 a.m. and then turn it off. Let's have it go here. So, we'll have it up a few hours of the day. So let's say you have a schedule like this. It's set to turn off. But, again, working the startup life, work doesn't maybe I'm working on something. I don't want it to end at 5 p.m. I can't just, say I'm done and have it shut off, right? And so being someone who's the one who's working on the actual servers, you don't want it to just turn off on you. So there's a couple things around that. One is you can get notified. So we have notifications built in to post to Slack, to Microsoft Teams, to send you an email. So you can basically send out a message giving a warning to basically say an hour before or 30 minutes before or 15 minutes before saying, so I have it set up again in my personal Slack. I have a personal Slack organization and I have the sending messages to me saying, hey, in 30 minutes, we're going to turn the server off. And it pops a notification and I have a warning saying, hey, this stuff's going to turn off here in 30 minutes. You got to do something about it. So it kind of gives you that heads up. It'll give you a warning when things turn on, which is nice because RDS databases, if you probably know this, they turn on every 7 days because they need to come up. And so they come up, I can get warned about it. So I remember, oh yeah, I got to go in and check it or do something with it, whatever it might be. So you can get these kind of warnings. If a user changes a schedule on you, you can get notified. Anyway, you can have all these kind of notifications set up and then you can do something about it. So instead of changing the schedule, what we actually have is the ability to temporarily override it. So let's say I have a schedule. If we come back over here to our main screen and let me find a good example here. So we got some servers down here. Here's our RDS database down here. So this has a schedule on it. That's what that clock icon means. So the schedule that I have attached to this actually is that it's off 24/7. So this is just off all the time, not using it. Maybe this is like a QA database that I don't need all the time. I just kind of need it on an ad hoc basis. So the nice thing is if I try to turn this database on, it asks me how long I need it for. So here's this kind of temporary override feature, which, again, if you're writing a script for yourself, you may not think of this kind of feature, but having the ability to come in here and say, yeah, I'm working on this just for a couple hours or maybe until Monday morning, maybe just for the workday today. If I do this, it turns the clock red, meaning the schedule is still attached. It's just not being enforced right now. So we're temporarily overriding it. We're delaying it. It lets me turn it on. I can use it. At the end of the override, it just goes back to the original schedule. So if it says it should be off, it turns off. So it makes it really easy for me as a developer to come in and say, yep, I just need it today. This is my QA environment. I'm doing some testing today. At the end of the day, yeah, just turn it off. It's fine. That way I don't have to remember to turn it off because, or again, raise your hand if you've turned something on intending to turn it off and then, whoops, a week later, oh yeah, I forgot about that because I left and walked the dogs. So, now we have the ability to kind of do this temporary override and then it just goes back when we're done with it. And you can extend this override. If you said 4 hours, you actually end up needing another couple hours. You can extend it because you'll get the notification again. So you kind of have this ability to kind of extend it and play with it a little bit. The nice thing is too, so I say you come in here and click on this, which using the UI is great. Admit it, a bunch of us nerds love using CLI, right? You don't want to touch a user interface for the life of you. Now,
guilty as charged.
Exactly. Now, personally, I use this interface all the time. I guess I'm a little biased, but having a little single click interface to turn stuff on is great because I can just say, yep, turn it on, boom, done, good. But I was working on a Elastic Beanstalk project, which has an RDS database attached to it. And so what I wanted was when I spin up my Elastic Beanstalk environment, I wanted to kick off turning on my RDS database first as the very beginning of it. And so we have a full REST API. So everything you see me do in the UI is all API driven. And so that way I can come in here, I can find the API for doing this temporary override. So I make an API call to override and then API call to turn the server on or the database on, and then it's up and running. So I can very easily do API calls. I can have a Slack bot where I can just run a command in Slack and it runs it. I can build this into CI/CD pipelines. I can do all sorts of stuff. So basically, if you're worried about the user interface, everything's API driven. So it makes it really easy to just kind of, so instead of writing a script to do your scheduling, we'll do that for you. And now you can script the additional stuff like, oh, let me plug into some cool stuff that I'm building. Instead of having to worry about the nuts and bolts of it, we've taken care of that. Now you can just do the cool stuff.
You had me at RESTful API. It's a beautiful thing. Well, and the neat thing too is the ability now to interact with it through this chat apps type of integrations. It's not just notifications, but you can actually build ways that you can have bi-directional interaction. And a lot of folks that I've talked to, and Elastic Beanstalk is a great example. Like if I've tried to stand up Elastic Beanstalk, and if it has dependencies like databases and other things, it's Elastic Beanstalk is like a live game of cloud whack-a-mole. Like if you try and shut it off yourself, oh, you're going to be surprised because it won't go away. It's really, really hard to shut off. And so the fact that we can actually do that and then build out the dependency graphs and like shut those dependent servers down or raise them up with it is pretty wicked cool.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I literally have my own Elastic Beanstalk app that I've been playing with on my personal time. And I plugged into this because it made it easy for me to say, I just wrote a quick script saying, hey, if I'm going to start working on something, it just kicks off and spins up the stuff for a couple hours. And when I'm done working, I can either let the timer run out or I can run a command to just say, yep, all right, shut it all back down. I'm good. I'm done. So just making that quick little script to do it makes it so I, do startwork.sh, run the command, get a cup of coffee, come back, and then I'm good to go. So it makes it really easy to just plug into your existing processes. The other cool thing I want to show, so we have a couple of the features, again, that you may not think of if you're scripting it yourself. Some things like our policy engine. So what we can do is we can actually automatically assign schedules based on tags or based on the name of the server, based on the region that it's in, based on the resource group in Azure. So all this kind of stuff, basically we can read this and automate it because obviously you don't want to manually click on schedules for 1 million servers. If you're working at a corporate environment and you have thousands of servers, thousands of workloads, you don't want to click on that. If I have more than like 3, I'm like, I'm automating this. Let's forget it. So what we can do is we can read the tags. That's what I'd say 95% of our users use is the tags. Some people, I'm not going to name names, are very good at tagging. Hey, that's all on you. The old school world of naming your server, with like the 3-letter, quick. Fun story about that. So real quick. So I was actually consulting at a customer and they were in, they had an online media group that was based in Waterford. And so they would actually name their servers based on the group that was using it and then the location that the server was in. So this server was literally called OMG WTF 001. The online media group in Waterford. I'm like, that's great. That's perfect.
It's the funny thing when you see those letters crunched together. That's why you got to always check the old thesaurus as well and make sure that whatever your naming structure is, it could end up with a naughty phrase. So be careful. Or urban dictionary, I suppose.
Whatever you're gonna name your server, you should copy and paste that into Urban Dictionary. Just make sure there's not something crazy that you don't want it to come up as.
Well, and the tagging thing as well for folks that want to talk about, eating our own dog food. We at the Turbo Lab, our engineering team has taken this on because we've had to get more aggressive that making sure that, we've got people that are on different time zones that are working on, at all sorts of weird schedules, and to make sure that we've got access to resources for demo labs and for other things and for engineering, and to be able to, quiesce those resources when they're not in use. And it literally is that easy. And if we went around with a hammer and said, hey, look, if it's not tagged, it's going down. And that was a pretty fast way to get people to light up their tagging plans. But you can at least do, make that part of the process. And even if it's not done today, everywhere I go to, every time I've done like a public speaking gig, I'll say, like, who here tags all the resources? And you see a couple of hands go up. I'm like, oh, come on. It's 2020. But this is a great way. So even if you're not, tags can, there's a good way to urge tagging to be part of the operational process.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I see people do the iron fist approach, like you were saying, with the tags and saying, if it doesn't have these tags, then we're shutting it down. You can also do, I've seen people do where maybe they have a Sandbox AWS account. Everything in Sandbox just gets a 9 to 5 schedule by default because nothing should be running on weekends. Maybe my QA account gets a certain schedule. You could also do something like if you use regions based on where your users actually are, so you're actually using those regions for that, you might say US East 1, anything in there gets an East Coast schedule. US West 2, everything gets a West Coast schedule. My EU gets an EU schedule. So you can kind of break things down like that too. So there's a lot of ways to kind of automate this based on your actual usage. Again, if this is a corporate environment, you might have different usage than your personal environment, but there's certainly ways to kind of handle any of that. So it definitely makes it really easy to kind of automate that.
Now the schedule, if you want to dig in a bit more, so this is manual scheduling, but I don't want to pull your demo into a place that I just want to see it and ahead of where you're going. But
no, I think you're going for our recommendations, which is exactly where I was going next. So then typically, when I'm talking to people, I say, yeah, we can schedule things. You can set the schedule. You can even automate it. And, if you're talking to the IT staff, they may not be the ones who are the users of the servers. So then they say, well, I don't know when it's being used. I have no idea. Or you'll talk to developers and they'll say, oh, I need it up 24/7. I definitely use it all the time. And you could say, I don't think that's true.
according to my charts, I don't believe that's the case.
I think you're lying, but I need data to prove it. And here's where we have the receipts. We can actually have the data. So what we do is we pull in from AWS, it's CloudWatch data, from Azure, it's Azure Monitor, from Google, it's StackDriver, or at least it used to be StackDriver. I think they might have renamed it. Anyway, again, everyone has their own naming schemes for things, which makes it an adventure trying to navigate cloud landscape. So we'll pull in that data. So we'll pull in CPU, network, disk, memory. So basically the data about the servers. And we'll even show it to you in kind of a heat map. So you can see this is CPU utilization. So this is throughout the week. It's showing me for each hour of the day and each day of the week, here's what the CPU utilization is actually throughout the week. So I can see at a glance here, it's kind of being used roughly 4 a.m. my time to about 2 or 3 p.m. my time. It looks like there's a couple hours kind of late at night that it's being used.
I feel very seen. This is so true.
But it makes it really easy to see. And then what we do is we'll actually generate schedules based on when it's idle or in use. And you can adjust what idle means. We have some defaults, but you can adjust that. But this makes it really easy to basically say at a glance, okay, looks like we could save about 70% just based on turning off when it's idle. That'll save $200 a month off of this. This is a C4 2X large. So by turning it off the 70% that it's idle, we'll save $200 a month. That adds up really quickly over time, right? This is one of those things where, when you spin up a 2X large, it might say the cost is like 0.003 cents per hour. You're like, oh, that's nothing. And then you run it 24/7 for a month and you're like, oh, times 730, that's a lot. So this makes it really easy. And we actually generate a couple of options here. You can make it a little more conservative, which leaves it on a lot more. You can be a little more aggressive, so we can play with this a little bit. But this makes it really great for, again, if you're not sure when it's being used, we'll tell you. If you have users who are stubborn and say, I need it 24/7, you can say, well, there's a ton of time that it's not being used, and that's wasting a ton of money. We need to start saving some. So this really helps you kind of go through and highlight your biggest offenders. You can group things into different groups, again, based on tags, and then say, okay, this team needs to save more or has more potential savings. This team, isn't wasting nearly as much. So you can kind of rank things so you kind of know where to spend your time.
Now this, and again, proving out, having run production environments for a couple of decades. Oh man, I'm old. And but it's true, right? Like, whereas what we believe is the usage pattern and what actually turns out to be the usage pattern. And it's a real good learning expedition for the IT ops folks, because they may not know what the typical development cycles are. They may not know, especially, but the reality is people are changing the way they're building apps, and they're changing the way that they're running infra. And if you want to kick the tires on something, like Kubernetes is a great example. You talked about, why would you spin down, and some people ask me, like, why would you spin down Kubernetes nodes, and park them? Like, very easy. Most people are not doing it right. So they're paying a gross amount of money right now to run this like really underutilized infrastructure. And then they say, well, wait a second, I'll use Fargate. Well, go back a couple of weeks and I ran Fargate versus like native EKS, node based. Well, it's not easy to set it up. And so the idea of serverless Kubernetes requires a lot more care and feeding and setup. If you're like way down the road and you're an advanced use case, fantastic. But most people aren't there. And if they are, they're doing a lot of it. They're doing it on Metal anyways, right? So, shout out to all the kids that are working on Metal. But this is everybody, especially if you're doing home lab stuff and you want to, there's no reason why you wouldn't use this, because the payoff is fast when you think about how much you can save. And like, I can whip up a Kubernetes infrastructure super fast. Like the auto scaling too is really cool. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, definitely. The fact that we can handle auto scaling groups, we can handle databases, handle EC2. Again, it's kind of like the low hanging fruit, like you just kind of alluded to it. It's like, why not? It's like just kind of turn these things off when you're not using them, and that's easy savings. I mean, that's just wasted money that you don't even have to dig into. Oh, I need to tweak and is Lambda, how many Lambda calls am I going to make? Is that going to offset my, whatever? It's just, look, if you got a bunch of servers running, just turn them off. It's cool. We'll save you some money.
If you're trying to shave milliseconds off your Lambda functions, you and I probably aren't going to be friends. Like I'm in a different world than that. But this is especially for folks that look, I'm a fan of automation, but I'm even more of a fan of building automation, right? I have this nerd sensibility that I think I can do it myself. Doesn't take long before I get outmoded by a platform. And this is why it kind of makes sense. Like I said, and the fact that you can interact with it is where, like, don't spend time building this, spend time building ways to interact with this.
Right. And then the other, to take that even one step further, if you're going to using this personal, it's great because I just want to save money for myself. If you're at a company, okay, maybe you're not even responsible for the build. You really still should worry about it, but that's an argument for a different time. But the nice thing is then if you're writing scripts yourself, okay, great, you're turning stuff off, but your boss doesn't realize it. So what we can do is we can actually show you some reports showing you how much you're saving. You can bubble this up to your boss and say, look, boss, I just saved the company $2 million a month by just by turning this stuff off. And here's the groups that are saving the most money, and here's some groups that need to save some more. Let's go talk to them, see if we can get them plugged into this. Very easy to kind of get them set up. So it just makes it really easy to bubble these savings up, numbers up, and there's kind of a gamification that you can do. I mean, I do this myself with my own personal life. It's like when you see the results coming, that makes you want to do it even more. So by seeing these numbers roll up and say, wow, we're saving a ton of money. All right, awesome. That's money we can spend on something else. It just makes it so that you can show that you're the hero that your company deserves. Maybe that your company needs.
And definitely nowadays, look, we know that times are weird, right? It's really tough, and being able to wrestle back unnecessary spending and move it towards stuff it's not even necessarily like, look, I always say focus on innovation, over operations, but like just focus on extending the capabilities of our companies to keep rolling. This is, if anything, this is the most important time you want to dig into how you can extend your operations. I know a lot of people that are really struggling, and the part of it is they're like, I can't shut down my data center, but I moved half my stuff to the cloud. So what do? Do you try and migrate it back because you don't want to pay on demand? Well, but wait, there has to be a better way, have the infomercial thing, right? This really is the way that, because we're way too far down the road. You can't just pull it back anymore. And it's not free on-prem anyways. You got other problems you're going to create by doing all that crazy lifting.
Exactly. And then, and just one final note on that, on the cost savings bit, most people, when they think of cost savings in the cloud, they think, oh, I got to buy a bunch of reserved instances, which is a challenging notion to say. Is like, oh, now I'm moving to the cloud, which is on demand, which is one of its benefits. And now I got to pay up front, which is basically what I was doing with the data center, but it's more. And now I have to make sure I use it. And it's like, we're kind of nullifying half the reason we went to the cloud anyway. So by doing something like this, we're saving a ton of money. You're still doing on demand, and you can actually still buy reserved instances for the 30% of the time that you're using a server, and then just park at the other 65 to 70%. Now you're getting the best of both worlds. You're saving money on the 30% you're using. You're not wasting the other 70%, and it just makes it really easy to kind of pair those two up. And then now you're just supercharged, man. Like within a couple of clicks, you're saving a ton of money and you're the hero. So
if only there was some platform that allowed for resource and performance aware optimization that automatically mapped your existing inventory of reserved capacity. Oh, wait, yeah. So come on back another time. We'll talk about how Turbo, and this is so we've got beautiful like side-by-side pairings inside a ton of customer environments where you've got the kind of Turbo maybe running, and we're handling some of the stuff like reserve capacity and doing the performance optimization. But a lot of people, they'll say like, look, I don't want to manage my dev workloads or my QA workloads in the same way because it's very sporadic. It's almost ephemeral. And this is why it's immediate. Like, well, this just spin up PMC and you're in really, really good shape because now you're able to let the workloads look for the way that they can be managed better with the native platforms that do the best for that workload style. If you're looking for high performance stuff, whammo, right? We got you covered. If you're looking for making sure your cost optimization is solid and you can also do this like, smart parking kind of capability, then it's a beautiful, 1+1, the two best friends that anyone can have. It is a lot of fun to be able to see these come together. And of course, like I said, I've been on a ton of calls with Chris, and they're Turbo customers, and they're getting fantastic value because they're nailing performance, they're doing all that stuff, and they get that value. But then they're over here going, there's a lot of services that may not be necessarily covered, and you're getting into Alibaba, you're getting into other things. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited. I'm a fan. So, and I was a fan before we even bought Park My Cloud. I was a fan. So partly because I do competitive analysis, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, you were scoping us out and found out how cool we are. Yeah.
Now we've covered a ton, and we wanted to make it fun. But if I think of signing up, like I said, you can sign up, you can literally get set up in the amount of time that you've been watching this. You could have signed up all your friends, probably become an affiliate marketer of Park My Cloud and signed up other people and gotten a little bit of jingle on the side. Who knows? But it's this easy. And if you need help, of course, when you sign up for PMC, there's a neat little chat bot that'll fire up. You get access, of course, through email interaction. Support is also wicked good. So, Chris, you want to talk about how do we engage with people once we're in the process of trying it out and digging deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, there's a little chat box on all our sites. I'm one of the people who responds. Hopefully I don't get a flood of chats here of our watchers trying to, my friends found out that I'm one of the people who respond. So they like to, while we're out at dinner, they'll, pull it up on their phone and try to chat with me anyway. But if you have any questions, we're available on there. If we're not available, like I said, email, support tickets. We also have a YouTube channel where I've been making just little short videos of how to do things. So I think the AWS setup video, I think is only like 7 minutes long because that's how long it takes to actually set it up. So you can watch along with that. I did an Azure video. I did a Google Cloud video. So you can watch the setups. I go through each of our features so you can see how to set up teams, how to set up policies, how to set up a Slack bot, how to set, so if you have questions or kind of use cases you want to look into, we have little short videos on each of those. So you can check those out. Our documentation is great. Here's one little tip I have on our documentation. There's a little question mark button up here in the upper right. And if you click that, it opens the user guide to the page you were looking at. So that way you're just right here in the reporting screen, easy peasy.
Oh, nice.
My other tip, here's a little tip for the people who are watching along, who have stuck with us. If you're wanting to use our API and you're like, I'm not sure what the API call is, I don't want to have to dig through your documentation. What I always do when I'm developing is I will pull up let's pull up the Chrome developer tools. And if I actually do a command, like actually turn this server on, it'll actually show me what the toggle command is. So here's the API call that we're doing. If I scroll down to the bottom, here is the payload of what I'm sending. So I can actually just copy this, and if this is what I want to do in part of my script, I can just copy this, paste it in my script, away we go. I don't even have to look in the documentation. I just do it once in the UI. I copy what the REST API call is, and then away we go. So that's my little tip of the day here for our loyal watchers to check it out.
That's a hell of an Easter egg. I'm also going to go back and double check your bookmark tab, because I love when people do that. Whenever someone shares a live demo and they swing by their like history or something, I'm like, I'm going to go back and freeze that.
You'll see random things. Let's see what would I have been searching for. So like Rubik's Cube tutorial, like blindfold solving methods. We'll go with like powerlifting videos, and then how to cook butter chicken is probably out there too, because I made that the other night for dinner. So yeah.
Nice. So I'll ask you one more important thing before we close up. There's a documentary on Netflix. Let's talk about cubing for a second, because so for folks that have not been lucky enough to see Chris actually roll hard and solve a cube in a very short amount of time, I love the idea of like kind of how you got kickstarted with it. But have you checked out the documentary on Netflix?
I watched it the day it came out. It's a great documentary. It's really well done. Highly recommend it. It's about 45 minutes long. It takes two of literally the best cubers in the world. So I do a normal 3x3 cube. My best time is around 16 seconds. I usually do it in like 25 to 30 seconds, which I admit is fast. The world record's 3 seconds. And so these guys who are in the documentary do it in about 5 to 6 seconds. So they do it literally 3 times faster than I've ever done it. So they are fast. Like I'm slow compared to these guys. So these are two of the best in the world. And it takes you through some of their stories, some of their history, and some of their kind of friendly competition. The cubing community is great. Everyone's super friendly, super nice. Anyone will tell you, because you're not really competing against someone else. I mean, you are, but it's more competing against yourself. So it's trying to get yourself better, which is great. Like I think it's helpful in life. And, solving Rubik's Cube, it's something you can learn. So if you want to learn how to do it, you can buy a cube for like $10, follow a tutorial on how to do it. It should only take you about a day, but it helps you with, finger dexterity, memorization, pattern recognition. It's very helpful mentally. And if the power goes out, you can always just have a toy to play with.
That's it. It's a bonus. It is pretty cool. I know a few people that have picked it up since seeing you do it at events and such. So we've done it. We had at one point we were standing on top of a pedestal and staring at a crowd of about 500 people watching, and it was so funny because we said like, hey, if anybody else can solve this faster than our man Chris, we'll give you an $800 Lego thing. And someone puts their hand up and like, oh, this is gonna be fun, But it's amazing that it's sort of we joke knowing there's no way, or a very rare case someone's gonna beat you in the crowd, but it's just the people that come up and want to find out about it. And then when I see one of your fellow cubers, I will say whatever you call each other, show up, and it's so funny that you have this whole parlance, this like. This set of words, you're like, oh, it's a rock 28 or what, all these crazy phrases you guys are using. Yeah, and I had like a 92 come up, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm amazed by it.
The lingo is definitely a different world for sure. But it's funny because I feel like in every hobby there's kind of that like you can go like deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can definitely get into the deep recesses of the hobby.
I say this as the guy that always has like a coin and a pack of cards somewhere, and like slowly but surely to the point where I'm like showing my kids like how to do it. And my littlest son is so funny. He like does the thing where like I make a card disappear. And it's so funny because I'll show him and he walks around and he puts a card on the back of his hand and he's like, look, Daddy, I'm doing magic, but it's a fun thing because it's dexterity, keeps your brain busy. And luckily, you can have all the time in the world to get really good at Rubik's Cubes and cards because we've got your cloud covered for costs. So
there you go.
This is cool. Hey, so Chris, thank you very much for all the folks that are watching. Thank you for this. And of course, you can follow Park My Cloud on Twitter. You can check us out. Go to parkmycloud.com. There's some crisscross references, not literally like warm it up, Chris, but I mean, like we're crossing streams on the website. So if you go to Turbo, you'll see, and of course you'll see Park My Cloud, a turbonomic company, I guess is what we call it. But definitely you can, if you're a Turbo user already, talk to your account team and let's get a demo set up. You're probably going to be lucky enough to get Chris because he is a demo maniac. I don't know how he keeps up with his own schedule, but you'll get a chance to review it. And what's the best? Do you guys have like an intro email? I'll say go to the website and get signed up for a demo is probably the easiest way, right?
Yeah, so there's a requested demo and there's also a requested trial. So you can do either one if you just want to play with it yourself. Then again, we try to make it as easy as possible. You can go sign up, try it out. If you want me to show you around and answer some questions about maybe a specific use case you have, or kind of show you some of the detailed features, talk more about how that might fit in your environment, then yeah, you can request a demo there and just pick a time and we can set up a time to chat.
Oh, all right. Now here you go. We just had a challenge from the audience here. Is there any way that we want to see some speed cubing live on camera? So this could be quite amazing to see.
All right. Now, here's the thing. So no one ever believes me if I'm scrambling it myself, but I'm just going to mix it up, and I promise I'm mixing it up, and I don't know what I'm doing, but nobody ever believes me when I say that. But anyway, trust me, it is. It'd be harder for me to mix it up in a way that I know what I'm doing it because there's about 43 quintillion possibilities of how this can be scrambled. So there's no way I'd know. So real quick, I'll show you. I'll tell you. Hopefully this won't take too much time, but if anyone's sticking around, you guys can get a little treat. So what I normally do, I'll kind of talk through what I'm doing here real quick. So I look for the white center because here's my tip of the day. The center determines what color that side is going to be. So I have a white center, I have a green, red, blue, orange, yellow. So that determines what side it's going to be because the center never moves. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of the white cross up on top here. So we'll get I have to get the white blue piece in between the white and the blue centers because this is a piece. This is not a sticker. This is a piece. And so you can't ever get these two apart from each other. So I got the white blue. I'm going to put the orange white. I'm going to put the green white, and I'm going to put the red white. So now I have the four the cross pieces there, and there's match up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put corner edge pairs. So I'm going to take I have the white, green, red, and the green, red pieces, and I'm actually going to put them in place over here. So I'm just going to do it really quickly. So now I got those two over here. So I got that in place. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the white, red, blue, and the red, blue. I'm going to go ahead and put those in place. So I got those back here. And then I got the white, orange, blue, and the orange, blue. I'm going to put those in place. And then I got the white, green, orange, and the green, orange. So I'll put those in place. So now I have the whole top first two layers done. So now I have just this bottom layer. The trick is the moves get longer because I have to preserve what I've already done. So now I have the yellow cross up here. So I'm going to get all the yellow on top. So I'll do that. So now I still have the first two layers and I have all the yellow on top. And now I just need to move those pieces around. This is where that lingo comes in play because I've oriented and now I have to permute the last layer. So there we go. So that's it solved. So real quick, I have a second cube here. So I'm going to do it again, but this time without talking, and we'll see how long it takes me since I'm doing it for a camera and, I get the nerve.
Most people that are watching this, they're like, and I've done this, it'd take me I've got it down to about 30 seconds and I can get one side. And then, and you want a second side, that's it. I'm going to lose the first one. This is amazing to me.
Right. So here we go. So I'm going to do it all real quick. We'll see how long it takes. We'll just kind of do a rough countdown here. So I got the first side here done, and I got the first corner edge pair. I got the second corner edge pair. I got the third corner edge pair. I got the fourth corner edge pair. Now I'm going to do the top layer, And now we're going to permute, and there we go. What was that, like 20, 25 seconds, something like that? So
not bad.
so that's a normal 3x3 cube. You got all the way up to 9x9. You got all sorts of different shapes and puzzles and sizes. So it's a fun little hobby here. If you want to pick up one, just grab a speed cube and find some directions and play around and wow your kids. Your kids may not have ever played with one because it came out 40 years ago. So anyway,
well, I found it. It's almost like a retro gift. Like I got my littlest kids a Rubik's Cube, and like you said, they're like $10. You can buy them at like $5 below. Like it's not even like you have to go out of your way to buy like a $40 thing. Just the like $10. They're inexpensive and they're actually amazing. Like I remember as a kid getting the old school ones with the stickers. Yep. Which is how I solved my first one. Old peel and re-stick disco. That's what we called me.
Yeah, so that's where you get into the real nerdy, because this one is actually like the stickers, but this one's colored plastic. So it's actually holds up better, and it actually has screws instead of rivets. So this is a really good speed cube that I paid probably like $30 for. So again, it's actually relatively cheap considering this is like, the best of the best costs like $50. So it's like, you're but the problem is then when you end up ordering and you're like, well, it's free shipping if I get 3 more cubes. Now I gotta get, and then your wife sees a package come and it's got 30 Rubik's cubes in it. And you're like, what did you order? Like, sorry, that's just me. That
is, replace that with cards and you're in my wife's personal hell of like, she's like, how many decks of cards do you really need? Like, it's
one more.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you very much. For all the folks that are watching, do check us out. Come on back Thursday. We're going to get the schedule up. I can't even remember what we're doing this Thursday, but you can always go to turbonomic.com/labs/live, and you can find out what the upcoming schedule is. You can go to the YouTube channel for Turbonomic. So go to youtube.com/turbonomic. All of this content is posted for on-demand usage. And if you want to reach out, do check out the Park My Cloud team. Go to parkmycloud.com. And of course, got to get my YouTuber thing. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that little bell so you'll know when new things are coming up. When we're going live, we're on Periscope, LinkedIn Live, and all over the place. This was way too much fun. So thanks for that, Chris. And stay safe, stay well. And also a big shout out to the maps. I'm a huge fan of map goodness. So this was really cool. I'm not the only one that does that. The first thing I do, I automatically always go to the wrong. I always do like if you can want to there you go, hit that. Follow me here. I can do that thing. You know where to find us. All right. This is Turbonomics Labs, and we'll see you all at the next show.
All right. Take care.